Hi, boys and girls. This is Miss Island. Today we're going to read a story that I've read to you before. It's called Wangari's Trees of Peace. It's a true story from Africa, and the author is Jeanette Winter. This lady in this book won a very important prize. It wasn't a fun prize, it was a prize for the work she had done in her country. And the prize is called the Nobel Peace Prize, which is honored by people all over the world. People all over the world respect those people who have received the Nobel Peace Prize. So this lady won it long before any of you were born in 2004. But this is her story. Wangari's Trees of Peace. Wangari lives under an umbrella of green trees in the shadow of Mount Kenya in Africa. She watches the birds in the forest, where she and her mother go to gather firewood for clothing, for cooking. And she helps harvest the sweet potatoes, sugarcane, and maize from the rich soil. Wangari shines in school, and when she grows tall like the trees in the forest, she wins a scholarship to study in America. That means someone paid for her to come to America to study. 6 years later, her studies over, Wangari returns to her Kenyan home and sees a change. What has happened, she wonders. Where are the trees? Wangari sees women bent from hauling firewood miles and miles from home. She sees barren land where no crops grow. And where are the birds? Now, when you are ready to eat and your parents prepare you a dinner, they use the stove. Well, in some parts of the world, people don't have stoves still. So they have to get what's called firewood, which comes from trees, and they have to burn that and light a match to it, and that makes a little fire, a small fire. And that way they can put a pot or a skillet over the fire and cook the food so that it's warm when they eat it. So that's what these people had to do because they lived in places where most of the people were very poor. Thousands of trees have been cut down to make room for buildings, but no one planted new trees to take their place. Will all of Kenya become a desert, she wonders, as her tears fall? So without trees, boys and girls, the birds did not have places to put their nest. So that's why she did not hear any birds singing. Wangari thinks about the barren land. I can begin to replace some of the lost trees here in my own backyard, one tree at a time. She starts by planting 9 seedlings. So she went out and she planted 9 little tiny seedlings for trees, little tiny trees. She puts the plant there and they will grow into trees. Remember, this story takes place in the African country of Kenya. Watching the seedlings take root gives Wangari the idea to plant more, to start a farm for baby trees, a nursery for baby trees. In an open space, she plants row after row after row of the tiny, tiny trees. Next, Wangari convinces the village women that planting trees is a good thing. She gives each one a seedling. You see here, giving it away? Our lives will be better when we have trees again. You'll see. We are planting the seeds of hope. The women spread out over their village, planting tiny trees in long rows. The tiny trees will grow like a green belt stretching over the land. The government men laughed. Women can't do this, they say. It takes trained foresters to plant trees. What are these women doing? The women ignored the laughter and they kept planting. Wangari pays them a small amount for each seedling still living after 3 months, their first earnings ever. So she's giving them money if they take care of the trees every day, and that tree is still living after 3 months. These men are laughing because normally women don't plant trees in that country. Word travels like wind rustling through leaves about the green returning to Wangari's village. Soon other women in other villages and towns and cities in Kenya are planting long rows of seedlings too. So all these women in Kenya decided, we're going to plant trees and replace the trees that have been cut down. They cut the trees down because they wanted to have the firewood, but the more trees they cut, they had to walk farther and farther away to get the firewood. But the counting continues and the cutting continues. Wangari stands tall as an oak to protect the old trees still remaining. We need a park more than we need an office tower. The government men disagree. Wangari blocks their way, so they hit her. They hit her with clubs. They called her a troublemaker, and they put her in jail. You see her crying? And still she stands tall. Right is right, even if you're alone, she says. But Wangari is not alone. Talk of the trees spreads all over Africa, like ripples in Lake Victoria. More women hear the talk and plant even more seedlings in longer and longer rows. The seedlings take root and grow tall until there are over 30 million trees where there were none. So with everyone planting trees, they have a lot more trees than they had before. The umbrella of green in Kenya returns. Women walk tall, their backs straight, for now they can gather firewood closer to home. The land is no longer barren. Sweet potatoes, sugarcane, and maize grow again in the rich, rich red earth. The whole world hears of Wangari's trees and of her army of women who planted them. And if you were to climb to the very top of Mount Kenya today, you would see the millions of trees growing below you. And the green Wangari brought back to Africa in the country of Kenya. So this story tells how we can take care of our earth, boys and girls, and that's how Wangari won the Nobel Peace Prize. That's why they were called trees and seeds of peace. So I know you remember this story. So I'm so glad I got to read it to you today. Thank you, boys and girls.